Today, a king's opponent has pulled out of their fight and is replaced by a tarantula. And the former king of the flyweight division looks to conquer new land at bantamweight. And what about Arman Tsarukyan? Can he ascend to challenge on the lightweight throne? And the former queen of the bantamweights makes her return. All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. We right back in it. We right back with it. We took a little break. We had some turkey. We had some all type of sides, all types of foods, all types of drinks. It was going down. Now we right back with it. This Saturday night, we have the UFC making their return, as we will see in the main event, Arman Tsarukyan stepping there with Beneil Dariush. Big Dariush. So let's start out with this main event. This is going to be very interesting because this is really going to show where Arman Tsarukyan sits in the pecking order in the lightweight division. You know, Arman Tsarukyan had been looking really good. You know, looked like a guy that was definitely going to challenge for the championship. He had a stumble against Mateusz Gamrot. You know, a lot of people believe that he won that fight. I believe when I originally watched it that I believed he won that fight. But nevertheless, Gamrot takes the win. He advances. And even in Arman Tsarukyan's last fight we saw, you know, he got wobbled. You know, the guy he fought wobbled him for a second. And so that was kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, do we need to pump the brakes? Pump the brakes on Tsarukyan. But he was able to go out there and get that win. Now he's stepping there against Beneil Dariush. Now, Beneil's coming off of a loss to Charles Oliveira. And prior to that, Beneil Dariush was looking like a world beater. And he was looking like he was definitely going to challenge for the lightweight championship. Not so fast, because there's a man named Charles Oliveira. The lightweight champion has a name, and it's Charles Oliveira, and he stopped all of that. So, you know, that was the end of that. Now he's making his return. I could definitely see a world where Beneil Dariush goes out there, uses all of his experience that he's gained over the years. He's an outstanding grappler, outstanding in scrambles, you know, a really good wrestler to grappling. He's not just going to keep going out there doing blast double legs or nothing like that, but he's a good wrestler to get his opponents to the ground to initiate his grappling. You know, you've definitely seen in the realm of striking, he's made leaps and bounds. He's knocked out a few guys. So on the other side, you know, you've got Arman Tsarukyan, who's a really good wrestler, really good grappler, you know, very good at scrambles, you know, really good with submissions. So this should be a very interesting battle. Most of the time when you see two fighters that line up so well on the ground, or, you know, as far as grappling, you end up seeing a stand-up fight. I'm not really sure what we're going to see here. And honestly, in this main event, I really just want to sit back and watch it, because I'm not really sure who's going to take this. I'm going to lean a little bit more toward Arman Tsarukyan, but at the same time, I could definitely see Beneil Dariush going out there and getting the win. So for this one, your boy's going to set it out. I'm just going to watch it. I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm just going to see who's going to win this fight, because it's a very hard one to call. Let's move on to the co-main event, as I also discussed at the top of the program. King Bobby Green making his return. He was originally supposed to be fighting Dan the Hangman Hooker, but Dan Hooker pulled out of the fight due to some sort of an arm injury. Even though CKB's coach, Eugene Behrman, says that fighters should fight through injuries, like he tried to do Dricus du Plessis. But yet, your fighters keep getting injured and pulling out of fights, and I don't hear you talking about that. Oh, Behrman. Oh, Eugene. But nevertheless, so to replace him, we've got the tarantula, Jalen Turner, stepping in the octagon against Bobby Green. This is going to be a tremendous fight. You would think this late in Bobby Green's career, you got to honestly lean toward the younger, newer fighter. But as we saw when he went out there against Grant Dawson, the man can still do work. You know what I'm saying? He goes out there, knocks out Grant Dawson, put him down. It was over. And Bobby Green's not normally known for his knockout power. So he goes out there, he puts him down, he wins that one. So now he's stepping in there against Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner definitely has the reach on him, definitely has the range. Jalen Turner's extremely good at different styles of chokes. Not just your random rear naked choke, but a lot of head and arm chokes, Darces, things of that nature, because he has those extremely long arms. Kind of like Tony Ferguson style arms, you know what I'm talking about? In this one, it's definitely going to be hard to call because Jalen Turner has definitely struggled with the scale. He's missed weight in at least 2 of his fights in the UFC. He missed weight in his last fight, and he took a beating from Dan Hooker as well. Now, he's had plenty of time to recover from that beating, but he is stepping in there, against Bobby Green on short notice. The last fight I actually picked against Bobby Green, I went along with Grant Dawson because I thought he was going to be able to neutralize Bobby Green with the wrestling. This time I'm going to go with Bobby Green. I've always been a Bobby Green fan. I felt horrible that I didn't pick him in the last fight. I'm going to pick King Bobby Green to go in there and get the job done this Saturday night. I believe Jalen Turner probably is going to struggle with this weight cut because it is going to be short notice. So he's liable to miss weight in this fight. Either way, I'm not sure how much cardio he's going to have because in his last fight with Dan Hooker, besides all the damage he took, he definitely did start to gas out. So I could kind of see him possibly catching Bobby Green on the feet and then emptying the tank trying to finish him. But due to Bobby Green being fairly hard to finish, I feel like Bobby can weather that storm and go ahead and get the win. Moving on, as I also spoke about in the top of the show, we have Davison Figueiredo, Figgy Smalls, making his return to the octagon, but instead of at flyweight, he's coming out here at bantamweight. Here's the thing, bro. I'm a huge fan of Davison Figueiredo. I mean, you're talking about a guy who is a multiple-time flyweight champion of the world. He's a Brazilian hairdresser. He comes out there, he looks like a James Bond villain every fight week. He rocks the gold chains. He comes out with the grill. He has rap songs that he's uploaded on his phone and has them ready to play at press conferences. You know what I'm talking about? He's out there, he says crazy stuff. He acts crazy. And in the octagon, he's a savage. The man is looking to do damage. If he takes you down to the ground, you got a cut on your forehead. Davison Figueiredo's the type of guy that starts spreading the cut with his fingers while he's doing damage to you. He's mean. You know what I'm saying? He's a savage. You know what I'm talking about? I'm a huge fan of Davison Figueiredo. I'm also a huge fan of Rob Font. I feel like Rob Font kind of shocked everyone with this second to last fight where he went out there and got the win. A lot of people didn't see that happening. Then he goes out there and gets worked in his last fight, which was a short notice bout. So now he's stepping back in there with Figgy Smalls. Now, he's definitely going to be the larger man. He's going to be the longer man. He's going to be the more rangy guy. But I feel like Davison Figueiredo is just that dude. And I feel like I don't know how successful he's going to be in the bantamweight division, but I do have a feeling that he can get that read on Rob Font, and he can go out there and he can get the job done. I believe that Figgy probably strikes with a lot more power than Rob Font, even though he's up a weight class. Rob Font, I would say, is definitely the more technical striker, especially boxing-wise. But I feel like Figgy Smalls still got those lingering skills that he picked up from Captain Eric Albacine as well as Henry Cejudo. So I feel like Davison Figueiredo is going to go out there and get the win and start his run at bantamweight. Although I don't know how long that bantamweight run's going to last. Because if he runs into some of the other guys at bantamweight, it might be a wrap. Moving on. We got Sean Brady stepping in there against returning to welterweight, Kelvin Gastelum. Okay, in this fight, I'm going to lean towards Sean Brady. Sean Brady was definitely well on his way to becoming a challenger in the welterweight division until he ran into that dude named Bilal Muhammad. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to go along with Sean Brady on this one. Because I'm not really too sure how Kelvin Gastelum is going to look back down at welterweight. You know, it's a tough weight cut for him. You know, he enjoys his food. You know what I'm talking about? As we all do. So that's no shame to him. Especially fresh off Thanksgiving. He had to miss Thanksgiving because he was cutting weight. And who knows? You know, I could see old Kelvin Gastelum sneaking a little turkey in his diet while he's cutting weight. So if he's able to make the weight, I don't know how much he's going to have left in the gas tank after that. I'm going along with Sean Brady. We got Puna Soriano stepping in there against Dustin Stoltzfus. I'm actually going to go along with Dustin here to pull the upset. I believe that Soriano is the favorite in this. I haven't liked the look of Soriano over his last 2 or 3 fights. More the start of his UFC career, I really felt like he might end up being a prospect, but these last few fights, I feel like he's been relying a lot more on his power as opposed to his abilities or his skills, and he gets into that point in the fight where he's really just looking for that knockout shot. So I'm going to go along with Dustin. Let's move on. We got Father Time, Clay Guida, stepping in there against Joaquim Silva. Here's the thing. Now, if I'm not mistaken, judging by his photo on the UFC website, this is haircut Clay Guida. And haircut Clay Guida, I'm not really sure. You know what I'm saying? Because that Clay Guida that used to come out there with the ponytail, and then about in the second round when he's all sweaty and stuff, and his hair would start coming out, and you would just see that gaping bald spot at the top of his head. You know, that's a Clay Guida to be, you know, you don't want to meet that man in the dark alley, you know what I'm saying? He will double leg you and stay on top of you for the rest of the night. You know what I'm talking about? So, but this version of Clay Guida, I don't know about haircut Clay Guida, you know what I'm saying? New mythical fighter, haircut Clay Guida. I'm actually going to fade him. I'm going to go along with Joaquim Silva on this. If you didn't notice, I'm checking my Nizzos on my Fizzone. Moving on. As I spoke about at the top of the show, we got the return of the bantamweight queen, Miesha Tate, stepping back into the octagon against Julia Avila. Look, I got to go along with Julia on this. I know I kind of talked up a good game, but I mean, in my opinion, Miesha Tate's just one of those, she's one of those veteran fighters that her style, her abilities, I think the game has kind of passed her by. And these younger fighters are going to be able to capitalize on everything that Miesha Tate hasn't picked up along the way. You know, Miesha Tate definitely has been coming back into the octagon in good shape, so you can't knock her there. She doesn't gas out. She doesn't really get tired. But her skill set of just trying to go out there and grapple and wrestle these women, it's just not working, because a lot of these women, not only can they grapple and wrestle, they have better grappling and wrestling and scrambling skills than what Miesha Tate has been showing. So I'm going to go along with Julia to get the win. We got Zachary stepping in there against Cody Brundage. I don't know. This was a toss-up for me. I don't know. I haven't watched a ton about Zach Reese. I don't know. I mean, what do you want me to do? I'm going to go along with Cody Brundage. I don't know. I don't really know on this one. This is not a well-informed pick, but I'm going to go along with Cody Brundage. Moving on, we got Drakkar Klose stepping in there against Joe Solecki. Drakkar Klose hasn't looked the same ever since, Jeremy Stevens shoved him almost off the whole stage back when they were supposed to fight, when Jeremy Stevens was still in the UFC. I don't really know about Drakkar Klose. I like his style. I think he's a dog. I think he's got that dog in him. I think he's a savage. But he just, I don't really know. He just doesn't seem to be realizing all of his abilities in the octagon. I'm actually going to go along with Joe Solecki to get the win. I might eat those words, but I'm going to go along with Joe Solecki. We got Steve Garcia going in there against Mackenzie Costa. I got to go along with Costa. I love his style. He's wild. He's unorthodox on the feet. He's got crazy scrambles on the ground, great chokes. I'm going along with Costa. We got Rodolfo Bellato stepping in there against Ihor Potieria. Man, I'm gonna go along with Rodolfo to get the win there. I'm not really too sold on Potieria, and I'm gonna go along with Rodolfo to get the win. We got Wellington Turman stepping in there against Jared Gooden. I'm going along with Wellington Turman. I kind of think Jared Gooden is going out there and stealing the check every time he steps in the octagon. Like, I mean, compared to a regular dude like me, yeah, he's going to do work. He's going to beat you down. He's going to make you look bad. He's going to take your lunch money. But against these prime fighters, I'm not really too sure about Jared Gooden. And he comes into the octagon. He's a wild dude. He's got a wild style. And even, I don't know if it was in his very last fight, the one before that, at one point he faked like he was rocked and then swung with the hammer of Thor trying to knock out his opponent, but missed. So, I'm going to fade him. I'm going along with Wellington Turman. And then finally, we got the wife of Dan Hardy. Shout out to Dan Hardy. Love his breakdowns. Love his content. Veronica Hardy stepping in there against Jamie Lynn Horth. I'm going along with Veronica Hardy. I know that Veronica is the underdog in this fight, but I mean, she looked solid in her last fight. Everybody was fading her, but Dan Hardy got her together. She went in there. She had a solid game plan. His coaching was perfect for her, and it looked really good. She's still young enough to have a run in her career, and with Dan Hardy behind her, coming up with her game plans, I think she's going to do well. Also, it's like, Dan Hardy's not a huge fan of the UFC, and he just wants to stick it to him, and he would love for his wife to just keep advancing to the point that they'd have to put her in that title hunt. So I'm going along with Veronica Hardy with that. So that's my breakdown of this upcoming UFC card. It goes down this Saturday night. Let me check. Is this fight in the Apex? No, this one is in Texas. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. Please, guys, like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think about this main event. Let me know what you think about my picks. I appreciate you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.